this is a new industry. This is like computers were in the 80s. It's not guaranteed that a company will be around in 2 years, in 3 years.
There's always a DC isolator on the roof that's caught on fire and the fire brigade just standing there watching it for 6 hours waiting for the sun to go down.
I've always found it very strange that they even sell solar power. It's counterintuitive to their business model. Why would they want people to use less power?
If I've got a Tesla Powerwall and I've got solar on the roof and I have an electric car, yeah, okay, I'm a little bit limited, but I can still charge my car. I can run everything in my house. Like I can survive. So being fully electrified, I'm actually more of a doomsday prepper than a doomsday prepper. All right, everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Now we're here with Michael Mrowka. How are you going?
Good, very good.
Good. It's good to see you here in Melbourne. Now we'll get straight into it today. Now, for those that don't know you, I'm sure everyone knows who you are, but do you want to just bring me up to speed with who you are, what you've done in the industry and your company so far?
Yeah, so REA originally started as Renewable Energy Advisors. So I started in the industry in 2006. I always wanted to get into energy, and solar power was an emerging technology that I could see had great potential. Unlike wind technology that has a lot of maintenance and a lot of complications and requires specialist training for installation, particularly on a large scale, I could see that solar power could solve a lot of problems, both with residential, commercial, but also with communities that have no power. And ultimately, that's why we're all here, is the sun. It separates us from every other planet in our solar system.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a good reason to be into it. So if you've been in the industry since 2006, how have you seen it evolve in that time between now and then? And, what are you most excited about at the moment?
So the industry has come a long way. We've obviously gone from you would call it backyard hobbyists. There was, I think, 3 solar companies, official solar companies, and most of them were in Ninbin in northern New South Wales. So it was back then was RV and hobbyists just building RV and camping solutions, and not many people really looking into solar power for their homes. And I remember when we started in the industry, particularly Germany had obviously a big stronghold across the world. When we started advising, we actually started on the larger scale, not the smaller scale. So it was international markets like Spain, Czech Republic, Germany, Turkey that had huge feed-in tariffs for big solar farms. So we were able to learn a lot from Europe and then bring that into Australia. So when we first started, it was $16,000 retail to buy a 1 kilowatt solar system. And the government were giving an $8,000 rebate at the time. So the customer was out of pocket $8,000. And we could see the potential and ability to be able to bring down those costs so it would cost the customer less than half of that.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome. So if you started off as an advisor, then do you guys come from a trade background originally, or?
Yeah, so myself is business, so MBA, business and international business and management. I worked for SGS or with SGS and many government organisations in advising policies with regards to renewable energy, with focus on PV. And my team that I brought in-house are electrical engineers, application engineers, and electricians. So, and which we'll discuss later on. Yeah,
okay, yeah. So it's quite a diverse team. That's very different kind of background from a lot of the other companies that you talk to. A lot of the other business owners, you start off as electricians, and it's funny. I always say one of the things that people lack in this industry is actually business knowledge. And it's interesting that you come from a more business orientated background. And it makes sense to me now that you say that from other conversations that we've had. Okay. So look, tell me about the solar panels that you guys are manufacturing now. That's something that you're getting into at the moment. Can you?
Yeah, really exciting. We've actually we did our original design and release of our product back in 2014, so 10 years ago now. However, we are sticklers for making things as perfect as possible with the the highest level of safety, performance, and reliability. So what we did was we developed a product with help of many of the leading component manufacturers. We developed a product specifically for ourselves, essentially, to do complete installations, so we could monitor the modules and make sure that we could compete with the big players.
So how is that going then? I mean, they say the solar industry is very cutthroat. You know, the solar coaster is very hard. You are competing against the big dogs like Trina and Jinko and that. So how have you been finding the competition so far as you progress from being, you know, just supplying panels for yourself to now you're, you know, moving towards supplying panels to other people and looking to grow in different markets, particularly you mentioned overseas in the UK. How are you finding the competition there?
Well, we're a little bit different. You know, most of our competitors, call them, you know, the tier ones, essentially are almost a carbon copy. Many of them use the exact same production line. They purchase the raw materials from the same place, and some of them even manufacture the wafers and cells both for themselves and also for their competitors. So what makes us very different is, one, we're a private company. We're not a public company. We're not run or owned or influenced by government, in particular the Chinese government. And we're small and nimble, so we can go from R&D and design and then commercialize a technology quicker than the big players. So we're a nimble supercar, and they're a giant bus.
Yeah, I like the idea of being small and nimble. I started with the analogy for my team. I started calling them SEAL Team 6 because someone said to me, you don't want an army, you want special forces.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, yeah, they said there's nothing worse than having an army of employees.
Yeah.
No offense to employees, but you know, you just want the best. And it just goes to show sometimes the smaller businesses that are more nimble and dynamic and they can move faster, they don't have, you know, investors or, you know, board of directors that they need to get decisions through.
Yeah.
They can move a lot quicker in the industry, make things happen and be a lot more competitive.
Yeah, and if you keep your finger on the pulse and don't get too complacent, essentially our heavy focus is R&D and it's shopping. You know, what we do is we secret shop. We fly around the world. It's my job is great. I work particularly in the R&D and the development and commercialization space. So I go to almost every solar show around the world. I talk to competitors. I talk to component manufacturers. I look at what blue sky ideas they have and projects. And in a number of instances, we have been able to do a deal with a component manufacturer and take a blue sky idea and commercialize it quicker than they ever could. So rather than bringing a product out themselves, they will partner with us and supply us to be able to complete that product.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So tell me about your market share in the UK. How is that going for you over there?
Yeah, really, really good. So when we entered into the UK market, and the reason why we entered in the UK market as a manufacturer and distribution before Australia was particularly because it is a lot more difficult, both in the installation of the product and also the operation and output of the actual product. Being able to produce power through solar in the UK is a lot more difficult than Australia. So we knew that if we could be the highest performing module in the UK, we could easily do it in Australia. So essentially when we launched very quickly, our reputation preceded us in the output. I remember our exclusive partners who are a great retailer in the UK, Heatable. The reason why we partnered with Heatable is because they were already one of the biggest providers of central heating and boilers. And so we partnered with them to deliver the world's best solar solution. And we went from summer to winter, and the installers that were installing our product started commenting and providing feedback that our systems were the only systems that were still operating in winter, and they were getting a lot of complaints from other products that weren't even turning on. And it's simply there wasn't enough voltage to turn that inverter on.
I believe they have a lot of problems with unreliable grids up there in England as well.
Yeah, the attachment rate of batteries is 90%, and that's why we also wanted to enter. Is because for the long term, it's very important to be able to develop a system that is part of a complete solution to create ultimate energy independence. So we know it's really important to get the maximum performance out of that battery and work towards getting people off the grid. So currently the attachment rate, I believe, is less than 10% of batteries in Australia. And yeah, UK and Europe is over 90%.
Okay. Have you looked at doing America yet?
Yeah, so
this is just a question off the cuff.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we were very close to launching in the US before COVID, and because of the political unrest, we pulled back from that. We were going to launch in California. We'll talk about obviously our big partner in America, and we were very close to launching there. But then obviously California had a complete reform of their standards. So the answer is yes, and we will be there. And it might be another year or so, yeah. But we need to make sure that it's the right time.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. So tell me about your manufacturing then. So this is something we've been selling your panels for a bit now, and we run with Designed and Engineered in Australia, Australian owned company. Now, can you clarify to me how much of the manufacturing is done in Australia?
Yeah, so the AC module, when we're calculating the percentage of the manufactured product, more than 50% of the total cost of delivering that AC module is actually in Australia. So what we do is all of our modules are dual glass. So essentially what we do, we can go a little bit into the finer detail of how we manufacture our modules. But ultimately we have chosen a specific production line. We work with the production line manufacturers who then assist us with contract manufacturing a facility. So what we do is we make the dual glass module, we import it, and then we finish the module. We integrate the microinverter. We do more testing and then release the product. So the actual assembly and engineering of the ACM or AC module is all done in Australia. The DC module is manufactured overseas, but we're looking to actually bring that onshore that within the next 2 years into Queensland as well.
So we'll be fully made in Australia within 2 years. It's the roadmap.
Yeah, so
let's call it.
Yes, we want to make the DC module in Australia as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. So one of the things we noticed about your panel, the Fusion 2, which we've got up in our showroom as panel of the summer, we're really getting behind that. I'm really a big fan of that panel.
Yeah.
So that comes with the Enphase microinverter built into the panel.
Yes.
Now, what was your thought process with that? Why did you opt for an Enphase microinverter built in as opposed to just straight DC or not? Well, not at all. What was the thoughts there?
Well, being going back to being in the industry so long, I've seen what can happen when it goes wrong, and we can talk about poor quality product or poor quality balance of system, but ultimately it's the technology. Now, when you're dealing with high voltage DC, it is the only electrical component that you can put in a home that doesn't require circuit protection. So having a product that is going to be on the roof above your family for 25 years and having any potential of a DC arc fault or any potential of fire was simply a non-negotiable for us. So we wanted to develop an AC architecture and an AC technology to be able to have it fully circuit protected. And Enphase were and are the world leaders in microinverter technology. We are thankful that the Chinese companies still, for whatever reason, can't crack it yet. So they do dominate that industry.
Yeah, it is interesting that no one else has really taken to the microinverter model, the AC microinverter model, at least in the same way that Enphase does, or even had anywhere near the same success.
Yeah.
I know recently, actually twice in the last year and a half, we've had Captain Richard Burt come down from the Las Vegas Fire Rescue.
Yeah, he's great.
I believe you're familiar with Captain Richard Burt. He's hilarious.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll cut to some videos of him, but yeah, just talking about the dangers of DC and the difficulties if you touch it, and he would come up to me, he would almost grab me around the shoulders, and he goes, "If you touch DC, you will touch DC one time, and you'll be dead." And he'd be like, it would be like I just hit you with a left hook across the side of the face, and I'm gonna be like, "Whoa, chill out." But he gets very passionate about just how dangerous DC is, and
Yeah.
You know, he was probably one of those cowboys, I think, in 2006 that set up his own house with batteries and all that, one of the innovators.
Yes.
But yeah, the argument between AC and DC is been going for a long time now, and it's really interesting. Like I trace it right back to, you know, Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison.
I was going to say exactly same
right back
thing.
in the 1900s, arguing over what they were going to do on the grid as to what would be safer.
Yeah.
And or they were trying to use it for electrocutions, but I think there was AC they were trying to electrocute people with.
Yeah. So yeah. So it's you know, Thomas Edison was running hundreds of kilometers of DC cables all under, I think it was New York, and obviously Nikola Tesla, with the help of Westinghouse, was able to create the alternating current machine to be able to use that in motors. So it's the AC motor, and obviously alternating current has a 0 point. So we're able to circuit protect it. So if there is a failure within that circuit, that it will trip and de-energize. So that is my only gripe with DC, is the fact that, you know, from the panels all the way down to wherever that inverter is placed, it's always live. Yeah,
it's true. And there's a lot of stories, and you see videos. Funny enough, the videos that come up on the news are always in Queensland, no offense, but there's always a DC isolator on the roof that's caught on fire, and the fire brigade just standing there watching it for 6 hours, waiting for the sun to go down, because that's just going to keep burning until there's no more energy in the panels.
It's a bit of an unspoken law that I've heard on the street, that, you know, solar system that goes up, then they just stand and watch it burn, but not confirmed.
Yeah, well, I've seen the videos. So tell me about the future then for REA. You guys are looking at doing batteries soon as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, so similar to our business model with panels, and just explaining a little bit more about the development of the panel and what we are doing with the battery. You know, when we released our panel, we installed it ourselves, and unlike any other manufacturer globally, particularly in Australia, we have hundreds of thousands of panels out installed with microinverters. So we have more panel level data than any other manufacturer globally, which gives us a huge amount of information for our R&D team to build better product and choose the right decisions with regards to cell size, cell type, panel sizes, you know, single glass, dual glass, or everything to do with the actual bill of materials of the product. Same with the battery. So we released the battery around 12 months ago, covertly in the UK. So we've already installed around 1,000 batteries in the UK, and we will install around 1,000 with our Southeast Queensland retail arm, which is REA Solar. So REA Power is the manufacturer. REA Solar is the Lightning Energy of Southeast Queensland. So that's our energy, that's our solar retailer, and it will do the R&D. It will do the installations of the first, call it the beta test, and then once it passes all of our Q&A, we'll release it to yourselves and the other power partners around Australia.
So I want to ask you another question off the cuff. Mm-hmm. So what's your thoughts on Solar Edge? I'll put you on the spot. I know.
So I really can't. I can't comment enough. As in, I haven't had a lot of hands-on experience with Solar Edge. Okay. The only thing that I can comment on is the REA Solar, the retail division, which obviously I'm a founder, but I don't run the day-to-day operations. Their feedback to me was we installed a number of 100 kilowatt systems, and at the time we had a 50% failure rate of a particular component in the inverter. I believe it was not a good time for Solar Edge. So what
year was that roughly?
That would have been about a year before COVID.
Okay, 2019.
Around 2019, I think it was. And I believe they had an issue with an inbuilt circuit breakers or something, or might have been an inbuilt DC isolator within their 30 kilowatt units. But it left a bad taste in our mouth. So we didn't do anything else with them after that.
So I wonder, because we talked about the AC microinverters built into the panel. Mm-hmm. Do you have any plans to bring out a DC panel or a panel with a DC optimizer built in the future?
So we have developed a smart module. So the smart module is a little bit different to a Solar Edge in the way that it handles the maximum power point tracking and optimization. But it will comply with rapid shutdown, so it will be safe. It will come off out of the box, so it will be de-energized because our focus is safety, performance, and reliability, both for the installer and for the homeowner. We want it to be safe for the installer as well. One of my gripes with the industry is that unqualified people are plugging in the solar modules, both in solar farms and on roofs, where, you know, the good companies are using electricians and some are using just any labor they can get. After we plug in 2 panels, you're above extra low voltage, so you should be a fully qualified electrician, and that's not happening. So with the AC module and our smart module, we prevent any potential electrocutions because it is off. It doesn't do voltage pass through. So it will optimize, it will do rapid shutdown, it will do everything. And it's really there to I guess, work with the uptake of batteries. We know as the attachment rate increases, AC coupled technology will become more expensive, and I believe it's worth the extra money, but it's down to price point. So we will be bringing out that module specifically for hybrid systems.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, one of the reasons I ask is because I know you're big on safety and the AC microinverters, which is a requirement in America.
Yeah.
With the regulations there to have rapid shutdown. So I think Solar Edge and Enphase have almost 100% of the market share. I think
most of it. Yeah.
Yeah, which is crazy, which is why I was wondering whether you were going there. And then over there, if Enphase and Solar Edge are kind of coupled together as the 2 top tier systems, then I wondered what your thoughts on Solar Edge are. But it sounds like you've had a bad experience there.
On the retail side, yeah. And at the end of the day, it's our job to deliver a superior AC coupled architecture at a competitive price. And if we can do that, then it shouldn't even be a question and a choice. At the end of the day, you know, if a car was half the price but it had no seatbelts and airbags, no one would buy it. You know, so if people were educated correctly within the solar industry, they would want some sort of rapid shutdown safety protection, and that means at very least optimized DC.
Yeah, we've obviously sold a lot of Enphase in our business, but it's been a tough year economically for a lot of people, and it's been a bit more competitive this year. So we've had to pivot a little bit and move. We were moving mostly towards Enphase, and now we've had to pull back a little bit. And it was mostly the price, because in a lot of the times in our sales pitch, let's call it, we'd be talking to a customer and say, well, look, here's the benefits of Enphase microinverters. There is literally no reason why you would not buy this product, except it's the most expensive.
Yes.
And that's the barrier.
Well, I think what's changing, particularly with interest rates increasing, and if you look at the data of people selling and buying houses right now, because of the way the Australian housing market is and the crazy prices and COVID, what we have noticed is people are starting to nest in. You know, they're starting to spend money on renovating and looking in the long picture. They're no longer looking to stay in a house for 2 years and swap it. If we have someone that is looking to be in their home long term, we know that an Enphase system will be cheaper in the long run. We have a 25-year full replacement warranty on the whole system. So when you look at the levelized cost of ownership and any potential maintenance costs, the Enphase system should be cheaper across the board, and the additional performance.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, the 25-year warranty, and I know SunPower came out with a 40-year warranty at some point there, which they still have. I saw a statistic, and I'll throw this at you just to be the devil's advocate, that the average Australian homeowner moves house every 6 years.
Yeah.
Which is one thing, and we talk to our customers in the process about how long are you living in this house? Is this your forever house? And a lot of our customers say, yes, it is. I'm going to die here.
Yeah.
Rah, rah. They're 30 years old. No, they're 60. Yeah. But yeah, look, those guys, we definitely go for Enphase. But then there are some people that say, yeah, we might only be here for 5 years. Maybe we want a cheaper system.
Yeah.
Or something. So sometimes I feel the DC systems, there is an argument for it.
Yeah.
Let's say, for not a cheap system, but, a mid-tier like a SunGrow system or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, they have their place for sure. And people have to be educated accordingly and essentially have a system tailored to what they really want. And if that's primarily price point, then we do the best to be able to deliver that with the best product possible.
So that'll lead me to my next question. So one of our top selling products at the moment is the Tesla Powerwall 3.
Yeah.
We've sold quite a lot. It only just got approved 3 days ago for installation. So we're pretty excited. Mm-hmm. Now the Tesla Powerwall 3 has kind of shaken things up a little bit because, there's one business in particular in Sydney that was exclusively N-phase microinverters and that with Tesla Powerwall. And now I think they're having to reconsider their strategy. Mm-hmm. If he listens to this, he knows who he is. But so what's your thoughts then of bringing out just purely a DC option to go with the Powerwall 3? And I guess my first part of that question is, are you interested in working with the Powerwall 3 and what is the plan there?
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, REA Solar, the retail business, is a premium installer for Tesla. We are one of the biggest in Queensland for installing the Powerwall and Tesla products. So we're a big advocate. We love Tesla. The Powerwall 3 obviously being a hybrid system and being able to have your panels connected directly into it will improve the price point and will increase the attachment rate of batteries. It can be AC coupled as well, so you can have the best of both worlds and have a Tesla Powerwall and have the safest solution still with an AC module. In terms of what our long-term strategy is, we have been in extensive talks with Tesla over the last year of the design. We have a DC module that we believe will pair really well with the Powerwall, and providing the retailer that we partner with, and we'll talk about designing something specific for Lightning and your customers. We know that if we pair with the right retailer, our power partners, we know that they will put the right maintenance schedules in. They will ensure that the product is installed correctly, and the system will be as safe as it possibly can be with DC architecture.
It's interesting that you say the Tesla Powerwall 3 can be AC coupled, because I heard this week that the Tesla Powerwall 3 has been approved by the CEC for installation in Australia. However, there is an issue with AC coupling with Tesla in South Australia and Victoria. Now, correct me if I'm not 100% accurate with this. I apologize to anyone that's listening. But with the emergency backstop functionality that's just come in as a rule in Victoria recently, if you install an N-phase system and a Tesla system, they can't communicate with each other currently.
Yeah.
So we were advised by Tesla that not to do any Powerwall 3 installs with N-phase until they resubmit to the CEC, and they anticipate it's going to be months until they have approval for those retrofit installations.
Yeah, there's a lot being worked in the background to fast track that, obviously, and solve all of those problems and make sure that we get through that particular red tape. As an example, in the UK, we've done quite a lot of Powerwall 3 only installations that are set up AC coupled with no solar. So that's just simply playing the wholesale markets.
Yeah, with Amber, for example, that was in the UK, you said. So
in the UK, yeah. So with Octopus and other providers, similar to Amber,
Octopus, did you just make that up?
No, they're one of the biggest, huge.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I haven't actually been to the UK. Funny enough. Okay, so I just want to ask you a business question then, and you can reveal as much or as little as you want, but in regards to lead generation for your REA Solar, what do you guys normally do? What channels are you finding are generating a lot of leads? Like, are you doing referral or online marketing? Where does a lot of your business come from?
So the retail business for us is word of mouth and referrals. So I think in terms of say customer reviews, we have one of the highest number of 5-star Google reviews, genuine reviews for the installing our product, and being in the industry for so long, we've got a good reputation for looking after the customer and achieving the goals that have been set out. So word of mouth referrals, and we do the general social and Google advertising. We find that particularly Google advertising will work better, and I believe that is because we have our customers are educated. If you're an engineer, you call REA Solar and so I would say more than 50% of our customers are engineers, and they're Googling, they're going through doing their research, and they find us, and once they find us, that's the only solution they want.
Yeah, it's a very interesting market up in Queensland. We operated in Queensland for maybe nearly 2 years, but we didn't do it as well as we could have, so we ended up pulling out. But yeah, I found there was a lot of cowboy companies up there, and a lot of small companies, and running out of a garage, and small crews, really dodgy installations. So how do you find competing against those guys? Do you find it almost easier, or do you find they make your life hard?
No, a lot easier. Simply because when we look at return on investment, if you can provide a return on investment that's far better than pretty well any blue chip share on the market, then price really isn't a concern. We design a system specific for the customer's needs, but also budget. And the beauty of our technology, it's modular and scalable. So that you might go a slightly smaller system, but get just as good, if not better, return on investment, and have the ability to expand later on. So generally, if we go up against someone that maybe is half the price, the decision for the customer is, do they want to spend slightly more but get a better return anyway, or do they reduce their initial upfront system size and then expand later on down the track? But we ultimately give them security because we are all in-house, from the R&D to the installation, particularly in Queensland. So we give the customer peace of mind that they are not handing their money over to a marketing company. So we find it really easy, and I don't mean really easy, but in terms of especially a cowboy that is a marketing company that doesn't have an installation company. They're not an electrician. Essentially, they're just salespeople that are reading off a script. And generally, educated people can pick up on that. And because we provide them with a solution that is both a better return on investment, but also plug and play. So we can meet anybody's budget with any size system and give them the best return on investment.
Yeah, we definitely found that towards the end where there's different sections of the market in Queensland. I hate to say it, but there's definitely the lower end of the market, which can be quite tough to compete in. But then there was like a lot of wealthy people as well. We found, particularly if you go up, Noosa or Gold Coast or whatever. So there were a lot of people around there that value quality.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I found, which we have this conversation a lot, even here in Melbourne, with homeowners, when they're looking at a cheaper system, and let's say it comes with a 10-year warranty and they're going with a cheaper company, and then they say what we're offering is coming with a 10-year warranty, and they're going, the warranty's the same. If anything goes wrong, I'll just go back to the company.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of faith in the warranty or the company that's offering that warranty.
Yeah.
And I don't think they consider the fact of, even if you compare it to Enphase or something else, of what if that cheaper inverter dies after 5 years or 3 years and that company's not there anymore and no one else wants to touch it?
Well, the issue particularly with that is the customers being comfortable with manufacturer warranties is simply because they're used to dealing with legacy industries, whether that's power electronics and computers and air conditioning systems and TVs. These companies don't come and go every month. We're in an emerging industry, and clients need to understand that this is a new industry. This is like computers were in the 80s. So it's not guaranteed that a company will be around in 2 years, in 3 years. They have to be managed correctly. And if they are a public company, there's a lot of pressure, both externally and internally, that could affect the company's success or demise.
It's interesting, I would say, the rise and fall that you see of a lot of solar companies out there, because there's a lot of small solar companies out there. And I don't know, over the last 6 or 7 years that I've been in the industry, I've seen a lot of companies try to go big, but actually fail. And it's interesting for example, there was Origin Energy that were really big and we were competing with them a lot. And then they've recently just announced that they have acquired Solar Quotes and they're going to shut down their residential division of their solar company and basically just supply leads to smaller installers, because I think that maybe they've lost the vision of the large national solar company that people are going to buy from. I feel that maybe they think that the homeowners would actually prefer to go with the little guys.
Yeah.
But then do you think that going with the little guys does come with a certain level of risk? Because I see a lot of the smaller installers, even just give up, just throw in the towel sometimes, or they want to move from Melbourne to Brisbane or Adelaide or something, and they shut their business down in 2 years and leave their customers without warranties. What do you think is the best way for a customer to mitigate risk there? Do you think they're better going with a big company, a little company, or a mid-sized company, or?
So what I would say is an organization. So by that, I mean, I believe that particularly with the installation, who you sign a contract with should be the company that installs the product. So if the companies are a marketing company or using third-party contractors, they cannot control the quality control of the actual installation. And ultimately, the final experience for the customer is with that installer. And ultimately, you can have the best product. You could have an REA power module, and if it isn't installed correctly, then it won't work and the customer won't get the result. And that's why we have built our power partner network throughout Australia. And what we do is we vet those customers. We vet those installers, and we choose the very, very best throughout the country who are in-house, who can deliver a product and stand by the product and be there to support the customers. So it's all well and good being able to choose, old Jim, the electrician that everybody knows in the area, but he may have been doing, house rewires for 30 years, but I can guarantee he's only been doing solar for a couple of years. And whether he wants to continue in that industry or not is up to him. So organization that has an in-house team, but also has a proper business structure.
So with Origin Energy, say, for example, we're acquiring Solar Quotes and essentially positioning themselves now as a middleman in the industry. Mm-hmm. What is your thoughts on that and say Solar Quotes in general? And, be careful what you say because Finn Peacock is coming in later. But what's your thoughts on Solar Quotes, their position in the industry, and then being acquired by Origin Energy to then funnel leads back to smaller installers? How does that sit with you?
Well, so the whole Origin, AGL, all of the energy retailers, I've always found it very strange that they even sell solar power. It's counterintuitive to their business model. Why would they want people to use less power? Because ultimately that's where they make their money. So why would you want to give a good quality system that's going to perform well and almost get you off the grid so you don't need the very person that has given you that system? It's really strange to me. So then Origin acquiring Solar Quotes, I can't comment on that yet because I don't know enough information about the deal. Finn seems like a nice guy. I don't know him personally, but he's done a lot for the industry in advocating research and quality. In terms of providing leads, call it third party, unbiased lead or quote comparisons for customers. I believe, like yourself, many companies have used his services and been really successful with that, which is great. Where it goes from here will be interesting.
Yeah, it will be really interesting to see where the industry goes because, there's a lot of changes. There's big shakeups, and particularly in Victoria, there's a real big push to electrification as well. So there's a lot of different services like for us that we've had to bolt on, hot water and air conditioning and car charging and kind of making all that work together. So I wonder whether, part of their strategy, they mentioned in a press release or a blog about it that Origin Energy were looking at pushing a VPP and full home electrification. Yeah. So I wonder if they're going to attempt to use the database to push different products, or if they're pushing people on solar and battery, but then locking them into a VPP?
Well, essentially, depending again on how the deal has been drawn up, ultimately they own that database. So they can do whatever they want with it. Unless you opt out, then I'm sure they're going to be contacting every every person that has ever been through solar quotes and speaking to them about something, at very least signing up with Origin on electricity.
Yeah, I see it as, I guess what I'm going with this is it's kind of full circle in the sense of Origin, typically an oil and gas company originally, which are arguably seen as the enemy of the solar industry, and solar is a way to escape from that. And they obviously wanted to diversify and move with the times. So they're moving into renewable energy. And now they're moving away from solar retailing and positioning themselves as a lead generator. And then I guess trying to, as you said, why would their interest be for people to move away from, buying electricity and move to generating their own? And then I think, well, their interest in that would be if they can sling it back onto a VPP. Yeah. And that in a way works for them. Yeah. How much benefit that is shared with the customer, I mean, well, that's yet to be seen.
I'm sure there has to be a world where everybody wins. Our goal is energy independence. We talk to our customers about a 5-year plan about trying to, get them to, we call it get off the grid. We don't mean disconnect from the grid, but we mean be completely independent. If the grid's down, they can power their home, they can power their transport. They're not going to be in a dire situation having no power. Now, where that grid connection comes into play and should come into play in the future is simply sharing power. If you have enough and you have surplus, then why not sell it to your neighbors? And if they can facilitate that and everybody profit from it, then great. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, look, I think I like to call it decentralized energy supply. I think of it as, it's like cryptocurrency or something. It's just decentralizing everything. So there's no one single point of control. There's no one point of failure. It'd be like Enphase as well, which I like that. Everything's decentralized. Everyone generates their own things. It reduces the amount of stress on the power lines on the street and, kind of just balances the grid better. So yeah, maybe we can all get along. Like I said, it's a bit of a juicy one because that was just a hot topic in the industry. I just wanted to hear your thoughts and see what you have to say to that. But I think a lot is still yet to be seen as to how that situation develops. But
we'll definitely ask Finn, because he's been an advocate for independence and having that unbiased support for the customer. So now let's see how that plays out.
Yeah, so just moving on then. So with REA Power or REA Solar, or I guess just the industry in general, where do you see the industry progressing over the next 5 years? What do you think is going to be the next big thing?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head before. It's that whole home electrification. It's looking at other appliances and other things in the home that are currently not powered by electricity. The beauty of solar and electricity is that we can generate it and store it locally. So having your heating, your cooling, and your hot water, for instance, with gas connections, with obviously petrol vehicles, being able to and having this argument about electric vehicles and petrol cars, etc. That the fact is that if there is no fuel at the pump, which could happen and may happen. Look at how many wars are happening at the moment and the issues with the Middle East. If fuel stops flowing at the pump, it will be pandemonium. We will have rioting in the streets. So even though it isn't a lot of power, you still can generate energy to power your transport. And that's where I think is going in the next few years is complete electrification, independence, and that electrical load sharing.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's two sides to that coin, I think. And in more recent years since COVID, I've taken an interest in, let's say, conspiracy theories, as some people would call it, which is quite funny. Some of them I follow just because they're hilarious, and some of them I genuinely do believe. But anyway, we get a lot of comments on our Facebook posts on social media by people who are anti-electrification. Yeah. Now, they're anti-electrification because they believe it's a government conspiracy of trying to control them and the ability to shut down their car whenever, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And I go, I can see how it might extrapolate out to that over a point in time, but they're not thinking about the flip side, which is what you just said. If they've got a petrol car and there's no more petrol coming into the country, then they've got nothing. If I've got a Tesla Powerwall at my house and if I've got a Tesla Powerwall and I've got solar on the roof and I have an electric car, yeah, okay, I'm a little bit limited, but I can still charge my car. I can run everything in my house.
Yeah.
Like I can survive. So being fully electrified, I'm actually more of a doomsday prepper than a doomsday prepper.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
yeah, it's interesting to see people's different perspectives on that. But
well, cars at the end of the day, all cars have computers now. They have multiple computers. So just because the drivetrain is either internal combustion or battery driven, it makes no difference. That most cars have over-the-air updates and are connected now to a system, so they could still be switched off.
Yeah, it is interesting, but I think the decentralization and the energy independence. I think the term energy independence has been so overused in our industry, it's lost its meaning. And I think sometimes it's good to kind of circle back and actually think about what that actually means.
Yeah.
Which does mean that you are protected, you are insured, you are, decentralized. If any events happen out there, particularly once you've got the battery, then you are independent. And you do see, it's funny now, even there's more and more grid outages seems to be happening more, not less.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, that is going to be a byproduct of electrification. Those who are not covering their consumption and are reliant on the grid, and as more electricity requirement, is needed from the grid, we will get instability because the grid is old and we can't keep up with the upgrades. So that is going to be a byproduct of it, and that's more reason why people should be looking themselves in investing in the technology to cover their consumption and to even have additional production to support the grid. And with these smart programs like Amber in particular, they will get paid for that support during those peak times.
All right. Well, is there anything else you want to touch on while you're here, or
yeah? So
tell me if there's anything you want to get out there while people are still listening.
We'll talk a little bit quickly about our power partners. We obviously have a national network now of power partners. Lightning Energy is our exclusive partner in this part of the world in Melbourne, and we've spent many years in researching our partners. So we basically took the position of the homeowner and said, who would we want to partner with? Who would we want to install a solar system on our home? And we shortlisted a group of installers like yourself throughout the country, and obviously made our decisions. So if you go on any of our social media or reapower.com.au, you can see all of their power partners throughout Australia. So we have a national reach. So we'll have an exclusive power partner in your local area who can provide you with the world's safest, smartest, and highest performing technology with the most amount of security.
Yeah, awesome. Look, it's great to be a power partner. We've had a lot of success with the panel. And like I said, we've got the panel of the summer sign above it.
Yep.
I think it's great. It's ticking all the boxes for us so far. Bifacial, dual glass, high efficiency, N-phase microinverter.
And I will add, which I'm sure you can agree with me. I'll ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
Now you have a test site with multiple panels. You obviously do sell other panels. Who's the highest performing panel?
Yeah, so on our roof here at our showroom, we have the REA Fusion 2, and then on the lower roof, we have Jinko, Trina, and Longi. Now, the Jinko, Trina, and Longi is a solar edge system, so there's a variable there to consider. Yep. Arguably, Solar Edge reckon they're better than N-phase anyway, if you ask them. But yeah, and then the REA system is obviously N-phase. So currently, our top performing system on our showroom right here is the REA Fusion 2 panels.
Excellent.
That's our best performing system. So we've got
awesome.
the data. If you walk into our showroom, you can see the data on the screen right there.
Yep.
So we show people videos of the panels on the roof.
Excellent. Well, we have a research project currently with Central Queensland University. We work with all the local universities in Queensland to leverage their knowledge as well, to combine and work with our engineers. And we have a research project site that's being released at the moment. It's I think 12 months now in data, and I can happily say that our module, along with some other competitors, is the highest performing at CQU as well. So
how does that make you feel to be one of the newer kids on the block, let's say, or you're the smaller guy comparatively to the powerhouses of Jinko and Trina, but you're smashing them? You must feel good about this.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. You know, at the end of the day, what I can bring it down to, not just in the development of our fusion cell, is the fact that we go shopping and cherry pick the very best raw material and components. Our competitors obviously they've got massive deals. And also in terms of the quality assurance and control, even the physical build quality and the appearance of our module, most people would not care what the silicon looks like on our panel, but we use Sika, and we have a 25-year guarantee with Sika, who are obviously the biggest in the world and the very best, particularly with structural glass and adhesion and you know, silicon itself. So that's one of the key components of our product. But you know, we are very fussy even how the silicon looks on our panel. So we're able to look and manage the quality control at a panel level because we're not doing gigawatts of product. So we are small enough to be able to look at the quality control all the way down to the physical appearance of every single panel when it leaves the factory. So our competitors just simply can't do that. They're too big.
Yeah, you're doing a really good job there. I just had one final question. I'll put you on the spot with one question. It's a hypothetical.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's say my name is Barry. I live in the Mornington Peninsula, Sorrento. I'm about 60, 65 years old. I live there with my wife. I've got a couple quotes on solar.
Yeah.
One is maybe SunPower, Maxi and 6,
Yeah.
and we've got REA, and maybe another quote is Genco.
Yes.
What would you say to me, a 60-year-old man living in the peninsula? Let's say I'm not very technical.
Yeah.
Why would I want to get REA panels on my roof as opposed to, say, SunPower or Genco?
For sure. So we'll take the architecture out of the picture. Let's just say they're all connected to Enphase.
Let's just keep it simple.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm just a simple guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So essentially, the first thing we would say is ours is a dual glass module. It's a 2 mil front, 2 mil back, so it's physically stronger, and that's why we know that our panel will last longer and it will be more resilient to storms and weather events. So it will protect the customer long term. But secondly, the support Australia. You know, our team is Australian. We've started with designing and engineering here. We're an Australian company. We're growing and we're wanting to onshore and bring back manufacturing to Australia. So support Australia, not just because we are Australian, but also we are developing the best products in the world.
Yeah, that's great. I think there's a lot of people getting behind supporting Australia. Like you mentioned earlier, a lot of conflict around the world and a lot of things going on. I think a lot of people, they just want to bring it back home where they feel comfortable and support their own, which, you know, some call it nationalism, whether that's a good or a bad thing. But support Aussie. I think you can't go wrong there.
Yeah, exactly. And then the final thing would just simply be, let's look at the cost per kilowatt hour of generated energy and what do we produce and what will we produce over the time compared to our competitors, and then divide that by the cost to look at the real cost of power. Because ultimately, whether you choose a solar system or you're choosing electricity retailer, you're looking at that cost per kilowatt hour of delivered energy.
That's an interesting way of looking at it across the whole life of the system, where, you know, often people break it down to the warranty period of a system on the assumption it's going to die after the day after. So if you're comparing it to a system with a 10-year warranty compared to a 25-year warranty, then you're going to get a lot more return out of the 25-year warranty. Yeah. Even if the performance differences are marginal across that, which is sometimes the argument that some people would say. But it does add, even over 10 years, it does definitely add up.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, well, cool. Well, thanks for coming in. I think we'll leave it at that. And look forward to seeing more of your panels getting out there around Melbourne and the rest Australia and the world.
Great. Thank you.
Cool.
I appreciate it, Luke.
All right. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks.